All right, what is going on, everyone? Casey Adams here. Welcome back to the Rise of the Young podcast. Today, we are joined by the one and only Manny Khoshbin. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
So we're here in your incredible garage. Thank you so much for having us today. And to start off the podcast, I'd just love to know, you're a real estate mogul. Your story is so inspirational, but what do you describe what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I do a lot of commercial real estate deals, but, my action, where I share with my passion with everybody else in the world, is mostly on exotic cars.
Yep.
But so a lot of people say, hey, what is this guy doing? He's got 3 Bugattis. Well, I've been doing real estate for nearly 30 years.
Yeah.
And recently I started a mentorship program where I'm passing on the torch, teaching, youngsters that want to get into real estate, how to build wealth and how to avoid mistakes I made in my early years. So I'm super excited. But I'm more excited about exotic cars, though.
Yeah, 100%. So how old were you when you first bought your first property, and why did you decide to get into real estate?
So I've done many businesses. I had a supermarket. I had a door-to-door sell business, selling, prepackaged foods, nuts. And over, as I failed at each business, I realized real estate is a way to go long-term. When I had my mortgage company, I was qualifying the borrowers for their refinances. I noticed all the wealthy borrowers that had high net worth, they all had a big real estate schedule on their loan application. So I'm realizing, well, you know what? Every wealthy person I take a look at, real estate's a big part of their holding.
Yeah.
And so my first property I purchased, I was 25 years old. It was 1996. I bought a bank-owned home in Garden Grove for $142,000. Used my commission. I was a real estate agent. Used my 3% for down payment, and I think $1,300 is what I put out of my pocket to buy the home.
Wow.
And then a year later, sold for $80,000 more. That's how I got started in real estate. I repeat the process. I bought 2 bank-owned homes, and then within 2 years, I had enough cash to start commercial property investing.
I love it.
And the rest was history.
Yeah.
I got into about 2 million square feet by 2007, mostly in Houston. And then I sold that in late 2007. Call it lucky, but it was a hunch. I'm like, okay, this is too good to be true. Everything's going up like every month. Properties are going up. People from California, Florida, New York were jumping and overbidding on my buildings every time I list a building in Houston. So I cashed out, and that was like my real big break when I had, $30 million in liquid.
Yeah.
And then I repeat the process in recession. I bought many of the same buildings I sold in 2007. And again,
You sold them and rebought them back after they went down.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I at least 6 buildings.
Okay.
6 high-rise buildings I bought and sold twice.
That's
And
incredible.
Yeah. So, after being in business for 30 years, you tend to see the trends.
Yeah.
It's like a movie playing over and over.
I love it.
And I'm trying to teach that now to younger people that are getting in the game.
Totally. And I want to ask you, this past year, 2020, I'm sure you learned a lot through that process with the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
What was the most important lesson you learned last year, and moving into 2021 with real estate? What are some deals that you experienced, or just what was different in the market based on what you've seen? You've lived through the 2007, 2008. Where do you see the market going right now? Where are we, and what should people be expecting?
Well, 2020 for sure was, a very unique situation. It was like a perfect storm. Because we've had a 10 or 11-year expansion in the economy since Great Recession without a dip, like a big correction. And everybody expected correction. So when the pandemic hit, they're like, this is it. This is a nail in a coffin. We're in the second Great Depression, so a lot of people panicked. So I was one of them. I had $44 million in escrow. I was buying 3 different assets, and I canceled all of them.
Wow.
And I don't regret it. 2 of those buildings, I'm glad I canceled, because one of them was a university in Oklahoma, and now they've gone satellite, so that was a huge risk, right? But and then the Fed obviously oversteered and overcorrected by dropping the rates 150 basis point and flooding the markets with liquidity of trillions of dollars. And that's why you see asset classes going up. A lot of single family got a big boost. I think there was like a 30% increase in residential market in past year. But that doesn't mean the tsunami hit and there was no carnage.
Yeah.
The carnage is coming. I've been, again, doing this for 30 years. This time is a little bit different. The Fed put the pause button on evictions and foreclosures. They put a ban. And then on top of it, they handed everybody a check. And that's why you see the stock market going up and
Yeah.
a lot of other things, even supercars.
Yeah.
And I think this is just delayed the process of and the carnage. And I think 2022, you're going to start seeing quite a bit of that surface in the market.
Love it.
So just be patient. I guess if I have to say one word, be patient.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know like your story, like for a while, and I'd love to dive back into this. Like you were living in your car, you were homeless. You come from Iran, is that correct?
That's right.
What year did you come to the U.S.? What brought you here? And like, what was your childhood like for those that may not know?
Oh my God, you got enough time? Well, in Iran, when you reach age 14, the government basically owns you. You have to basically go to army. They draft you at 14. And my dad had 7 brothers. 4 of them got crippled. 2 of them passed away from injuries at war. Back then was Iran and Iraq war, and I'm talking about 1980s, early 1980s. So 2 weeks before my 14th birthday, my dad's like, I'm not gonna let my son get drafted and pretty much become crippled or die. And he decided to bolt. So he handed the keys to his car, his house, and he had a small little hardware store. He was retired, basically. He didn't have to do it. But
Yeah.
so he handed it to his older brother. He's like, hey, sell everything, send us the money. And we went to Turkey, got a visa to America. We came here in 1985. And with a couple of $1,000 in his pocket and 4 kids.
Wow.
And my sister at the time, she was only 6 months old. So I have to say my dad's my hero. Because I don't think, being a father now with 2 kids, I don't think I could have the balls to do that now, But all that kind of gave me the motivation and the drive because I realized how much suffering my family went through because of me. So I turned that into motivation and my drive, and I wanted to reach the point of financial freedom as soon as possible to retire my parents.
Yeah.
And I did that. In my early 20s, I started a mortgage company. After I bought a couple of my homes, I had a mortgage company for a few years, made good money. But my real money started in early 2000s when I started flipping high-rises in Houston, and then bought a ranch from my dad, and he's been retired for 20 years.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, that doesn't mean I didn't fail. I failed probably 20 or 30 times. I got nearly bankrupt twice. When I mean bankrupt, was negative net worth. I had 180 grand in liabilities on my credit cards. I was paying over $3,000 a month interest on credit cards with no car, no house, nothing. I used my credit cards I didn't want to file bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Everybody said, hey, you're an idiot, file bankruptcy. Everybody does. In 2 years, you'll repair your credit. You'll be back to, back up.
Like, what did you do, like, throughout that time? I'm sure, like, mentally, you're going through it. Like, if someone's watching this and they may be going through a hard time, like, how did you deal with that, right? When you have the stress, your back's against the wall, and, like, you have this motivation and hunger, but just things aren't working out accordingly. Like, what did you do during that time?
Exercise. Yeah, I worked out. I mean, I used to work out. The time I had my supermarket was probably one of my roughest times. I had a supermarket in early 90s, and then a Food for Less opened right next to me. This is in Santa Ana, California. So I went from making 30 grand a month cash to losing 10,000 a month. So that's when I started borrowing on credit cards. My partner left, says, hey, I'm not in a business to lose money. So I bought him out for a few $1,000. Now I own the whole supermarket by myself. But a year later, I had to sell my house, my car, and I end up being in debt by 180 grand on my credit cards. Even my parents told me file bankruptcy because they're like, what are you doing? You're losing money. You're in business to lose money. So I fought, Rocky Balboa was my, one of my idols early on when I was 14, skinny little boy. The first investment I made when I came to America was $1, and I bought 2 dumbbells from Swap Meet. And that was my first investment, Build your body.
Yeah.
So start with what's in front of you. Improve your body. It wasn't just to build muscle, but it was built to my mentality,
Yeah.
that fighter mindset. And it's all about mindset. And every time I had a low point in my life, whether it was in business or a divorce, which I had that too, I got back in the gym. I doubled down. I doubled down on weight. If I was working out for 20 minutes a day, I bumped it up to an hour, hour and a half. So just fight. You gotta fight.
I love that. How do you stay motivated nowadays? Some people may say like, man, he has the cars, he has the success. Like, what keeps you motivated and hungry today, just moving into the future of your life?
Vacation. Well, I got 2 kids. I love to spend time with them. We're going to Cabo in a few weeks. So traveling is like the most fulfilling thing for me now that I got kids. But also giving back by passing on my knowledge through my platform that I've set up with the mentorship program, and just inspiring others with using my social media. I mean, I get thousands and thousands of DMs, every month, how I'm inspire them to get off their lazy butt and make that move. Because the hardest thing to do is that first move, like making a change in your life.
Yep.
A lot of people keep, just putting it back. Oh, they come up with excuses. It's not the right time. Dude, just get up and do it. Even if what's the worst that can happen? You fail. So what? You start over again.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that difficult. Come on.
Totally. When did you start like building your brand on social media? What was that point in your life where you're like, hey, I'm gonna start like sharing my success in cars? And I know like some of your videos are just incredible, all on Instagram and everything. When did that come into your life, and what was that like? What is it like nowadays? Right, you have this huge platform. You're able to educate, inspire. Like, how do you deem social media, and where do you spend your time on it?
Well, it started with my first Bugatti I bought, 2011. I bought a Bugatti Mansouri. It was very flashy, gold and carbon fiber accent. And I started sharing it on, Facebook, and then Instagram came. And then it went viral. A lot of people tagged me. They're like, so I'm like, wow, a lot of kids, like, this is their dream.
Yeah.
And I have that dream car. So, I feel great sharing it and seeing people's excitement about the car. And then, of course, as my collection grew, people question, hey, how am I making my money? Then I start sharing more about business, real estate. Then I got married. I got 2 kids. Now I share my family.
Yeah.
So it became a whole full spectrum of sharing my lifestyle, kind of like a reality TV.
Yeah.
Sort of. But
totally.
My main objective spending time on social media is really to share my life story, that it's possible. I came to America at 14. So many people have advantages against me. I came here, didn't speak word of English. I'm still working on it.
You're great.
I didn't know my way around. I came to Costa Mesa, California. I had no idea what 2 blocks to the right or 2 blocks to the left, where am I, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have any money, and I didn't have any friends. I didn't have none of those. And 99% of people that follow me, they have, to some extent, some of those 4, right?
Yep.
They know somebody, they know their neighborhood, they have a little bit of money, and they speak English.
Yeah. All the advantages.
Yeah.
Totally.
So if I could do it with all those disadvantages, why couldn't you?
Totally.
Right? So that's why I share my story often on social media. I think if people really put themselves in my shoes 35 years ago when I came here, they'll get motivated. They're like, whoa, you know what? I can do it.
Totally. And I think too, like with social media, when someone sees one of your cars, like it inspires them, right? They know that it's a accomplishment, it's a story to get there. Like, I want to ask you, when you walk into this garage, like, how does it make you feel, and like, what do these cars mean to you?
To me, it's a symbol of achievement, but at this point, they're investments.
Yeah. let's talk about that.
Yeah, you got symbol of achievement. You get your first Bugatti, you're like, wow, I made it.
Yeah.
But 3 or 4 Bugattis, okay, that's a little, it's beyond achievement. It's
expensive hobby.
Now it's an investment.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Like, when you're investing in cars, like, how do you look at them? Like, what is the typical price of each car that you buy? And like, how do you think about it from an investment?
Yeah, well, during the past 15 years, when I started investing in cars, I've pivoted a few times. Now I'm focused on more limited productions where I can bring in another, a designer to collaborate. Like, I have 3 Hermes cars, and I think those will fetch a lot better for investment and also more exclusive, right?
Yeah.
So it's about more exclusivity, not horsepower, not the wow factor. But if he has all those, great. But most
Yep.
importantly, exclusivity.
Totally. So like these Hermes edition cars you have, like let's talk about that. Like why Hermes? How did that story come together? And like, you know, these are like one of one editions, right? So like,
Yeah.
how does this deal come together? Did you call Hermes? Did you call Pagani or Bugatti? Like what went into making these cars come to life?
Oh, I called everybody. Like, come on, I want. No, so I started with my local boutique in South Coast Plaza. I said, hey, I want to do see if you guys would collaborate with a new car I'm designing and building with Pagani. And at first I said, well, that would have to be at the headquarters in Paris, but I can give you the phone number. So that's how it started. I contacted them. They liked my profile. And they said, well, we do a lot of planes, trains, classic cars, but we've never done it with the manufacturer on the brand new car off the line.
Yeah.
But hey, if you want to pay us 30,000 euro for time and travel to Italy, we'll go meet Mr. Pagani. I'm like, done. It's the best investment I ever made.
I love it.
So they went there. They spent a day or so with Hiroshio Pagani, and then they called me the next day. Say they think there is enough compromise on both sides to make a project. And that was my first car. It was 2014. And then now I just finished my Hermes car with with McLaren, which is sitting right there.
Yep.
And that's
we'll check it out after this.
Yeah, and that's probably my most expensive car, right on par with the Bugatti Hermes edition I have. Yeah.
Okay. So what is like a price tag of one of these cars if someone wanted to go do this in their own way? Like what is the ballpark and price range for doing a custom car with a Hermes, Bugatti, or McLaren, whatever it is?
Oh, it's all over the world. Depends how much you want to spend.
Okay.
I mean, like, I give you an example. The bags alone for the Pagani, it's a 7-piece bag, was 248,000. So
Wow.
$250,000 just on the bags. That's without them touching the car yet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it gets up there.
That's incredible.
But, people spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars on paintings. Picassos go for millions and millions.
Yeah, this is art.
Yeah, and you can't take a Picasso to lunch.
Yeah.
But I can take my Pagani Hermes to lunch. Come on.
I love it. How often do you? I know I'll follow you on Instagram. Like, how often do you take these cars out, and like, do you only, when you think about it, like, do you want to put a certain amount of miles on them? Like, how particular are you with driving these cars?
Oh, I'm very, very anxious because when I take these out, it's a, people get excited with motorcycles.
Yeah.
Some young kids with a Toyota Supra with 1,200 horsepower, and then they blow rocks on my hood.
Yeah.
So I'm always anxious. Like if somebody's not looking, they hit me in the fender. Obviously, I'm very mindful when I take them out. These are investments.
Yep.
They're, you got to take care of them. But I do drive them, not as much as I should. But my Hermes Pagani, I think has 160 miles on it after 5 years.
Wow.
But it's also because it's not clear broad. So I'm getting it done. So I feel more, less nervous. Put it that way,
Totally.
driving it. But I put like 500 miles on my Bugatti Hermes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. And I've been seeing you've been getting a lot of new cars. Let's talk about it. Like, what are these new cars that you've been picking up?
Oh, I have Ford GT I just got 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I have an AMG Project One. That's coming. That's like a Formula One car for the street.
Yep.
I have a Koenigsegg Jesko.
That's the four-seater. Like the
No, that's
multi-passenger.
No, that's a Gemera.
Okay, got it.
Four-seater. The Jesko is a two-seater. Is a replacement.
Oh
of the
yes,
Agera
actually,
RS. Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Yep.
yeah,
Very cool.
yeah. And then I have a couple of cars I can't disclose yet because I
Okay.
signed the NDA. But as
Okay.
soon as the manufacturer announces it, you'll know. It's it's
Any hints we can give or no?
a lot of horsepower. Put it that way.
For sure.
1,800 horsepower. No.
Okay.
But they're really cool. They're very limited. They're 30 units and less. So it's very exclusive.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of other cars. Tesla Model S, the Plaid Edition. I'm excited for that. Believe it or not, it's for $135,000. It's going to be faster than anything I have in my garage.
Wow.
0 to 60, 1.9.
That's incredible. Do you have any cars that you don't have now that are like you have all these dream cars?
Yeah.
But what is a car right now that you don't have that like you would like to get?
Oh, there is at least 3 cars I can think of. A Duesenberg, a good one is probably $7-8 million. F1 McLaren.
Okay.
Sets you back, 25 mil probably.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then there is a Bugatti 57S, which is in Peterson Museum. It's the only Bugatti Shah of Iran had, and it was gifted to him by French government for his wedding. And I'm hoping I'm gonna be able to buy that from Peterson Museum.
Okay. And you
It's
said
classic.
that goes for what? You said 25 million?
No,
Or is
that's
that-
probably 10 million. I don't know.
I got it.
It's the only one in the world, so it's hard to put a price on it. But the
Yeah.
older 57S Bugattis, they go anywhere from, depending on the condition, because they're 1920s built. So when it comes to vintage, it's all about restoration, how what the condition is. But they could go anywhere from $1 million to $5 million. So that one maybe it's worth 7 to 10. I don't know.
Got it. Very
Yeah,
cool.
but that's my dream. That's
yeah.
my bucket list. I got to get that car in my collection. So listen up, Peterson Museum.
A couple more questions before we wrap up here is just, I want to talk about habits. Like, what do you do every single day? What are non-negotiables for you that you deem that have helped you become successful that you do to this day?
Exercise. So I exercise 4 days a week, rain or shine or sick or healthy, doesn't matter. Even if I'm, not feeling it, I'm in the gym, at my home gym, 7:15 in the morning. I don't work out heavy or for a long period of time. I do 20 to 30 minutes. I work on two muscles. It's just to keep me, it's body and mind conditioning for me. It's not to be a bodybuilder. So 4 days a week, drink a lots of coffee.
Love it.
And get up early. Those 2-3 hours head starts I get, it adds up to a lot of hours of, brainstorming, setting up my day. A lot of times I come up with ideas for my team. It's just the hours that you can really ink out a lot of performance because you have zero distraction, quiet. And with a cup of coffee, you got 2-3 hours to, you start with a clean slate for your day. Yeah. And kind of just sets a tone. And by the time people are getting on the road and going to work, I'm already pumped up for 3 hours.
Yeah.
So, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, you're a step ahead.
Yeah, but exercise, I would say 90% of my success, I would contribute to exercise.
Wow.
Because it really gives you that confidence.
Yeah. I love it. I want to ask you just, when you look at what's happening with stimulus money, people, the inflation rates, what's your thoughts on cryptocurrency and how do you see it playing a role in society?
Oh, man. I'm the wrong person to ask. Cryptocurrency is hard to put a value on it, right? Because it's not a hard asset. It's digital.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm old-fashioned. I like to touch things and put a value on it. Say, okay, it costs $1 to make this cup. Yep. And I can buy 5 million of it right now for 20 cents. 80% less. That to me is an opportunity. Totally. Cryptocurrency could go to 100,000 a Bitcoin, or it could drop to $2,000. It was at 21,000 and dropped to 3,000, so it could happen again. Yeah. And imagine if people bought at 50,000 and it drops to 20. A lot of people may not have the stomach, right, to handle that, and they'll sell at the loss. So it takes very a strong-minded person and discipline to stick to those type of investments, because often when it goes up, you get greedy. You don't want to sell it because you say it's going to go to 1 million. But when it does drop, you don't have the stomach and you sell it. So often 95% of the time people lose money because of that. So it's very emotional. We're all emotional human beings, right? So those type of investments that are super volatile are very risky. Yeah. In general for humans, right? Got it.
No, I appreciate the insight for sure. Last thing, just what is the importance? I know you talk a lot about family and your kids. Like, what do your kids think about these cars? And what does family mean to you?
Oh, family is everything. Look, you can have all the money in the world, but you can't take it with you. But your kids will live and they'll have kids. So family to me is legacy. You're building your legacy. My son's only 4, but I can tell you he loves Bugattis. he can name a Bugatti when he sees a Bugatti. So family is everything. It's like one thing you can do in your life that will, outlast you. because nothing lasts forever, but family does, because it keeps on going.
I love that.
Yeah.
Last question before we wrap up here is just looking back on your journey. There's a lot of young people that watch this. What would be your advice to your younger self, and why?
Start investing in real estate. I hopped around so many different businesses. If I had stuck to real estate when I got my license, which was 1992, long time ago, I started a mortgage company. I started a supermarket. And, I got into real estate after I failed so many times in different businesses. I always knew real estate lucrative, but it's slow. I wanted to make money quick. And I realize now, hey, if I had started real estate 5 years earlier, I would probably have extra 30, 40 million bucks right now, right? So I start investing early, young, and be patient. Everybody I talk to or I see on social media, they're always looking for, Forex trading, do this, buy this, a SPAC, stock this, it's going to go up. They all want to make quick money. They want to make that $1 million. It's good to have that hunger in you, but be realistic and set out a 3-year, 5-year, and your 10-year plan and put it in action. Don't wait for that get rich quick and not do anything, because you're constantly waiting for that.
Yeah. Love that.
Let's start. Yeah.
Last thing, I know that you've helped a lot of people get into real estate. Where is the best place that everyone watching this can learn more about the program you have and just follow you on social media?
My social media is my name, Manny Khoshbin, at Manny Khoshbin for IG. And then mannykoshbin.com is my website where I share my platforms. And check it out.
Absolutely. Well, Manny, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today. It was my pleasure. And let's go check out the garage.
Yeah. Thank you.